Hello, welcome to a new edition of our show. My name is Business. As we always say, business means money. Stability and business, and a lot more mean business and mean money. And we've witnessed, and we've lived the situation under the COVID-19 and its repercussions on the economies of the world. And of course, what's happening right now is just we hear of the monkeypox and new vaccines for the monkeypox and how it's going to be affecting the world. We don't know yet. As we go on, we'll just be finding out. Hopefully, all the best and not like the COVID-19. Also, the war between Russia and Ukraine and its repercussions on the world and the development that we are witnessing. All that is affecting our economies. Well, whether locally, definitely, or internationally. And we're going to be talking day by day what's going on in Egypt and what's happening, and that's our priority here under, of course, all the variables and circumstances. And as usual, we've got with us Dr. Said Kholy, Professor of Management in Shamsi University, and also the Chairman of the High Supreme Council of University Promotion Committee. Welcome, sir, with us.
Thank you very much.
Well, there is a lot to talk about, but before delving into anything, we'll go for a short break, after which we'll be coming back. And starting our talk, the menu is long, and we'll choose whatever we want from it.
Sure, we will.
Stay tuned to us. Don't go away. We're coming back in a moment. We're back again to My Name is Business with our guest, Dr. Said Kholy, Professor of Management in Shamsi University, and the Chairman of the High Supreme Council of the University Promotion Committee. Welcome again, sir, with us.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, there is a lot to talk about. Lots of developments have been taking place on the local scene. Definitely, we've been working very hard, the government and the president, and with the people, in order to, as we felt during the revolution, rock bottom, then just we're going and racing against time in order to take the place that Egypt has to take, that it's worthy of. And a lot of developments, quantum leaps have been happening and taking place, actually, which is like miracles in all situations. Of course, other people are trying to ridicule those with agendas and are trying to falsify information, all that. But then stands that the International Monetary Funds talk about the different achievements that have been taking place. And of course, the gap between the exports and imports is kind of shrinking. It was bigger before. Inflation is going down. Employment or unemployment is going down also. There is a lot of difference if we compare from before and now, and a great boost. How do you see that?
If we talk about the last 8 years, since the development of Egypt Vision 2030, we've seen a lot of things happening in Egypt. We did talk about the infrastructure. We did talk about the excess supply of capacity, power supply. We see a lot of gas in Egypt now, sun energy, wind energy, and so on. And all of that with the visit last 2 weeks where President Sisi visited Jeddah, for example, and he met with the President of the United States, and he went after that for Germany and then Serbia, and he got doctor honorary degree. We congratulate our President for that. All of that, it really bring a lot of investment to Egypt, and we have, if you compare the foreign direct investment 8 years ago with this year, you will find out it is tripled. The foreign direct investment, a lot of country, industrial country, whether it's Asian, whether it's European, willing to invest in Egypt. With the threat, as you mentioned, with COVID-19 and the Russian-Ukrainian war, it brings opportunity for Egypt to be the industrial hub for major industry here in Egypt. And of course, all of that, it helped whether it is private business, whether it is foreign direct investment with governmental factory, increase their production, and now we are able to export more than importing. And that is why the deficit, it shrank as you mentioned, and that is a good news. Remember right now, most of European nations, the United States, going into close to recession. And of course, the unemployment rate is getting higher in this country. The power supply, it's short for most of the European country and for the states. And all of that bring opportunity for Egypt to be industrial hub in Egypt. And all of that, it really shrinking the gap between import and export. We used to export more than we import, and that is the deficit. It was wide. Now it's shrinking, and the gap it start to get narrow and narrow. And this, it means simply, of course, the rest of the world face a huge inflation. In Egypt, really the inflation rate is not as high as most of our neighbor country or European country or the state country. Whether in the state, for example, is a gallon of gas in the state, it's going to hit the range of $7. $7, it means 140 Egyptian pound for a gallon. We're still really in Egypt controlling the price, and the unemployment rate, it went down, and that is, all of that is a good news for the development and for the implementation of Egypt Vision 2030. And all of that, it really, we manage our resources better right now. We are really, for the last 2 years, we start to focus in made in Egypt. And that is why coronavirus, with the shortage of supply chain and the logistic, it has a big problem right now. We start to depend on ourselves in order to produce more product made in Egypt. And that is a good news. Behind all of that, it is the leadership of President Sisi. He have a vision for the future.
Yes.
He have a vision, and he want to see Egypt an industrial country, an agriculture country, as a tourist country, where it attract more and more foreign direct investment. And all of that, it doesn't happen by accident.
Like
No, it happened with planning, and it's a good plan, which we are really about 90% for our plan for the 2030. So the plan is for 2030. It means 7 years from now we'll see the result. We start to see the result of the implementation of Egypt Vision 2030 right now. So they are working hard, the government with Mustafa Mabouli, with all ministers, in order to bring the deficit down, in order to bring the inflation down. And I'm sure in Egypt we'll see a different Egypt in a very short period of time. Within a year or so, you will see Egypt in a different place. Definitely. And of course, all of that because of the leadership, where they provided the infrastructure, they provided the logistic, they provided the power supply. We are a safe haven for investment right now, and that is a good environment for all foreign direct investment to come to Egypt, especially Asian country and European country, because a lot of multinational companies, they have factories in Russia, and they shut down their business in the boycott for Russians. They start to shut down their factory there, and that is the opportunity for Egypt to bring this industry here in Egypt. Why Egypt? Because all the factories we mentioned before, and besides the location of Egypt, we are close to Arab country, to African country, to European country. We have the Suez Canal, which it is a good news for logistic also, and that is the plan, and we are working hard into implementing this plan, and we are going to see the result in a very short period of time.
Yeah. So also this is being given to the micro businesses and the small and the SMEs, definitely, because these are the backbones of
Absolutely.
any economies, definitely. And we had a guest recently who talked about the incubation offices to which you can go, anyone with a youth with in universities that there are these offices in order to help any youth who has an important idea or a plan or a project in order that he wants to develop and to be able to compete in the market. And here comes the role in helping and giving the tools to help that person in order to just have a business and succeed in it. How important is that, and how do you see the micro businesses, the significance in Egypt, micro and middle, like I said, businesses and small businesses?
Let me say one thing. 80% of American economy, Asian economy, European countries depend on a small and medium enterprise.
Yeah.
And that's what we call it as a feeding industry.
Yeah.
The Egyptian government and President Sisi, they start to make the mega project. And the mega project, it needs a feeding industry. Feeding industry simply, that is a small and medium enterprise where it help to supply the mega project. And that is, we are working on that in Egypt. And we start to have use and the Central Bank of Egypt and most of Egyptian bank provide loans for small business to give them the opportunity to start up their business. And remember, with the close down with COVID-19, we start to see a lot of startup business, which we see it right now, where you don't have to have a huge infrastructure, you don't have to have a building. They call it as a virtual business, where they can do all of their transaction, all their business from home, for example, and from the virtual or incubator and so on, in order to subsidize the mega project or industry. And of course, Egyptian youth, they are creative and they can come up with a good idea, and with the encouragement of Central Bank of Egypt, they give them loan to start their business, and they start to give them some consultation, marketing and business plan in order to help small and medium enterprise business. Small and enterprise business, it is very important, and the idea from digital transformation is to combine all this small business into the economy. In Egypt, we have an official economy where you have people pay taxes, and we have unofficial economy, which is a big sector, and it doesn't really merge with the taxation system and so on. And the digital transformation, it's a mean to integrate small and medium enterprise business into the economical system. And that is, it happened and started already, and in the near future it will be combine all small and medium enterprise business.
What is supposed to be done in order to encourage the informal business sector? Let's see that there are businesses that are, we don't know how much they get, the gray economy, or let's say, those in the shadow.
Absolutely, shadow economy, yeah.
What does it take in order to, convince them to go into the mainstream economy, pay their taxes, be part of the legal system? But, of course, they think they are away from anything like that, and they make money without paying their dues like everybody does.
Remember, for each Egyptian, they have the national ID number. And with the national ID number, you can control everything. With all the regulation you make. If you want to get a passport, you have to submit your national ID and so on. And if you connect that with digital transformation, you will be able to control. Of course, also when we reduce the cash dealing in business transaction, it allow, for example, now we use credit card to use it in a supermarket, in a vegetable store, and so on. And that is a new trend with digital transformation, to have like 80 Visa card and so on, Visa machine for all this small business. So when you have this kind of digitalization, you will be able to control more and more small business. Of course, there is a lot of small business which you call it as a shadow business, or which is not integrated in the economical system.
Yeah.
It's a tons of money, of course, and that is a huge number of small business. It's not included into the system. With digitalization, with the transformation, digital transformation, you will be able to combine them. And of course, awareness is very important. If we have a awareness campaign for these people, of course, they export materials from outside, and you cannot export unless you provide your national ID. It can be controlled during in the system.
Definitely. We'll go for a short break. After we should be coming back. Stay tuned to us. Don't go away. We're back again to Money Means Business with our guest, Dr. Said Kholy. And again, among all that, and prices are increasing so much everywhere in the world, worldwide, and with the situation and the war between Russia and Ukraine, that is putting pressure on citizens everywhere. In Egypt here, the government is working very hard in order to alleviate that. Lots of outlets in order to sell meat and poultry and vegetables and fruits less than the prices in other supermarkets. There are also some cooperation from some supermarkets with different groups, maybe with the army and police and other supermarkets, in order to sell goods for the citizen in lower prices. Well, you have to go to the outlets and get your own whatever you want to buy, less than what you find here or there. Also, President Sisi just raised wages, and is giving to those who are really needy, to help them in their lives a lot of help right now, because they need help. Definitely, well, with the soaring prices everywhere in the world, and of course Egypt, it's not like other places, but then with the pressure everywhere is the prices are rising.
Let's agree about one thing. The inflation, it's not only in Egypt, it's worldwide inflation, and it's controlled inflation in Egypt versus is in European country, in Asian country, the inflation rate is getting higher and higher. In Egypt, really, we have too many programs. For example, if you take a look during COVID-19, for example, with the beginning of Russian war, and you see in international news like ABC, NBC, and so on, and you go to supermarket and you find the shelf in the supermarket empty. In Germany, for example, they issued in order to you get 1 pound or 1 kilo of flour and 1 liter of oil and so on to use it. European country facing in the winter, they will face a huge problem with the increase of the oil prices.
Exactly, all one initiative.
Yeah, all of that, we have a lot of initiative, such as Haya Karima, for example, كلنا واحد for another example,
yes,
which is extended until the end of this year. It used to be until the end of tomorrow, July 31st. No, they extended until the end of the year, where they provide discount price for it goes up to 60% compared to regular supermarket and so on. Of course, that is not only the army facility or the police facility. With كلنا واحد, they have the private sector, private supermarket cooperate with the government in order to produce these goods with a lower price, with the discount price. And that's Egypt, where the government work with the private business, with a lot of institutions like the police and the army, in order to provide for the customer, all customer,
Yes.
and needy customer for Haya Karima, for example, for needy people, will see a lot of development. Also, the private sector share with the government in this initiative in order to reduce the price. And if you take a look, and that is a reality, with most of our neighbor country, they suffer from the deficit in their food supply. During Ramadan, for example, that's a good example. We didn't face any problem with the food supply in Ramadan, where the demand increased in Ramadan. We didn't face any problem. During Eid al-Adha, for example, we didn't face any problem. And all of that is really cooperation between the government and with the private sector, with the leadership of President Sisi, in order to provide goods and services with lower price for needy people and for all Egyptians, of course. And that is a good strategy for the government, and I believe this will be extended until the end of this year, in August, September, October, November, until the end of December, inshallah. That is a good news for Egyptian people, and that is the policy for President Sisi to be able to provide a good quality of life for Egyptian citizens.
Well, that's, also with the Decent Life Haya Karima initiative, also 100 million Saha,
Absolutely.
100 million health, of course, initiative also to help, to eradicate hepatitis C and other illnesses, and without a cost to the citizen. Also finding the pills or whatever, the medicines that they should be taking free, and that was not available before, and it cost a lot, and many patients died out of that. But now there is a chance of living and be cured, to recover from hepatitis C by that initiative also.
And providing also the national insurance for some government, it helped to reduce the number of cases.
Yeah.
Remember the waiting list we used to have before, it was years, and now we have it in months and so on. We reduce the number of waiting list, of course, for the needy people, and that is President Sisi. When he took over the presidency, he focused on two things: education and health care, is to be able to provide a good quality health care for the Egyptian people and a good educational system for the Egyptian people. He's working very hard in these two dimensions. When you have healthy people, highly trained, highly educated people, and you'll see the good result, of course. And remember, we are going now into the fourth industrial revolution.
Yes.
You need to have a good education, we need to have a healthy people in order to be able to cope with the new development in Egypt.
Even entering the countryside and Upper Egypt, villages and places that were marginalized. Right now, there is a lot of interest in that. There is a lot of care given to these places in order to develop them. Developing them would give the chances, survival chances, for people who were just marginalized for a long time and did not have the necessary care. Right now, it's becoming different.
Absolutely. If you go back, people, you don't look back 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Let me say it in a very simple format. What happened really in the last 8 years, it never happened in the last 40 years. If you compare the number of projects, the number of infrastructure, people forget, 9 years ago, we used to have blackout by number of hours, for 8 hours, for 10 hours in a daily basis. Now we don't have that. We used to have shortage in gas, for example, and we don't have that. And all of that really, it's a good strategy, good policy for the Egyptian people, is to help. And that is what President Sisi, he mentioned 3 years ago. His main objective is to really take care of the Egyptian people, of health, as you mentioned, مليون صحة, which it never happened anywhere in the world. Housing, for example, housing development for the needy people, tens of thousands of building and apartment furnished also
Yes.
for the needy
Yes.
people. And all of that, it is really the social responsibility for the government is to take care of the needy people. Of course, our resources are very limited, and the rule of the leadership, I believe he's a proactive and he's not a reactive. He doesn't stay until a problem happens and then start to react. No, he's proactive in terms of he predict what the future is, what is the consequence of Corona. Most of the world was shut down, business shut down. No, we worked parallel with our economical development and with healthcare in the other side. We didn't really shut down, we didn't close down, and so on. Even with the Russian war, we have surplus from wheat, and for the next 6 to 9 months, that is a good news. And with all this social program, with the help of private sector, stand with the NGO and the government hand in hand in order to be able to really minimize the problems of what we have from coronavirus and Russian war, Ukrainian war, and so on. And this, it really bring a good news for the Egyptian people.
Definitely. Well, you know, as we talk every time about education, said, you know, like there is a boost also in education, a lot of work on universities and schools and all that. And well, we've been facing COVID-19, and then when they were just, you know, some people were just making trivial, jokes about studying over the internet, distance learning, or but then we were faced with this fact that we could not go to schools during the pandemic, and children, or well, let's say, you know, universities compelled the students to stay at home because they could not be mingling with each other in this during those hard times. And you know, part of it, or let's say most of the school lessons or the universities lessons were through distance learning, or you know, on the computer, actually, via internet. And we were forced to do that, and what the efforts that were done would just prove to be futuristic, preemptive to any problems that were taking place. Of course, well, this happened on the spur of the moment, and then of course, you know, to get used to this, it takes time.
Absolutely.
So it was not a very, there were hard times also for students as well as professors.
Of course, we are used to face-to-face type of education.
Yes.
But remember, with COVID-19, when it happened, we have to really, the policy of Egyptian government is to keep our children safe, keep our kids in the university safe. With governmental education, they have millions of children go to school and so on. With the increasing number of COVID-19 cases, we started to use online learning system. The online learning system, it needs a platform in order to put in this platform or your curriculum or your video and so on. And the online system, it was an interactive in terms of you have a professor or a teacher in a class format, and live with the student, you know. It is not only you go into the internet and you search and so on, no. It is live classes, whether the teacher at home, at their office and so on, and through the internet they connect with their kids and they see. That's called interactive learning. And in another situation, we start to, instead of going 5 days to school or to university, we make it half face-to-face and half online learning. and it's your choice, your parent, the parent's choice. In order, if you have cases and so on, you will be able to stay with the online only, not with the face-to-face if you are really having a problem with your kids. And that is, it went smooth, and we went through we didn't stop education because it was a lot of people, they say, it doesn't matter if we delete 1 year or 2 years from our education system. That is not the government policy. The government policy is to be able to define, to find other means for getting our kids, our children, to get their education on time. So when we went on time, even in business, in banking business and so on, where you can do all your work from home, that is not a new thing. It happened 20 years ago in Europe and in the United States, but we delayed. But when we have this COVID-19 problem, we started to depend on online education. There is a lot of advances on online. In the beginning, we weren't ready for that, but for the infrastructure of communication gets better and so on. Now we have live class where you have interactive. The student can ask me live through the platform like Zoom, like many other means of e-learning, and that it is the process. And we have it until now for graduate classes and for international classes. They have it online with no problem at all.
Definitely. Well, there are situations like the COVID-19 and others that kick us here and there, that things change and life is never back again to what it was.
Absolutely.
We just learn other things. We just change the system and we go on. And of course, with the Russian and Ukrainian war, also there are just lots of changes taking place. And we're going for a short break, after which coming back. Stay tuned to us, don't go away. And we're back again to Money Means Business with our guest, Kholy, and 1 minute to go before the end of the show. And how do you see, with the rumors happening and trying to make everything trivial, to just say futilities about any real effort working to boost Egypt and all the
I'm a very optimistic person. There is a lot of rumors in the Facebook and social media, and really we don't have to pay attention for all of this rumor, but we have to see Egypt vision, the vision of our president, the vision of our government. It's going upward, not downward, and that is not my evaluation. That is all worldwide indicators, worldwide financial institution, International Bank, International Monetary Fund, Fitch models, European Bank for Development. All of this indicator shows Egypt in the positive side. Of course, there is a negative campaign, but we don't have to the negative. We have to look for the positive side of what we have. And President Sisi, let me say, when you have a will, there is a drive. And we really happy new agri year for all Egyptians, and things will get better in a very short period of time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kholy. Thank you for being there. It's always a pleasure having you. And as this is my last show on RTV International, I'd like to thank everybody and all the group I've been working with all along. And I'd like to thank our viewers also for being there. And as we always end, God bless Egypt. God bless our president, our army, our white army, and our police, and the Egyptian people. And ادخلوا مصر إن شاء الله آمنين. Enter Egypt, God willing, safe and Mubarak. شعبي مصر from the Holy Bible. Bless me, Egypt, my people. I'm Nermin Azim, signing off. Fare thee well.
Bless you.